In episode 4, I briefly spoke about 3 kinds of specific learning disorders, namely dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 also includes dyspraxia and developmental aphasia in its list of disabilities. I will briefly explain these 2 conditions in this current episode.
You have said that the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act includes dyspraxia and developmental aphasia in its list of specific learning disabilities. Could you explain these terms?
Dyspraxia may best be represented by the DSM-5 term Developmental Coordination Disorder. The condition it describes may make it hard for persons to write legibly and to do practical tasks. Developmental aphasia is called language disorder in the DSM-5. Persons with this condition struggle to understand spoken instructions and to express themselves in speech or in writing. Both these disorders make it difficult for a child to either understand, speak, or write.
What is dyspraxia or developmental coordination disorder?
Let me begin with an illustration.
A 12-year-old boy with high average intelligence was not able to write legibly. In addition, he lost his balance every time he attempted to do a task that needed him to change his body posture. He lost his balance and fell when walking along a straight line or when trying to catch a ball thrown at him, and was not able to swim despite intense instruction. He avoided playing games with his friends and was mistaken for a loner. His condition could be called dyspraxia or developmental coordination disorder.
Small children with dyspraxia find it difficult to coordinate the essential movements of their eyes, limbs, or muscles that are required to implement some physical task, like using a spoon and a fork, putting on a pant or shirt, or writing. They also find it difficult to conceptualize, plan, or implement motor tasks that they are not familiar with, like catching a moving ball or riding a bicycle. Children with such a difficulty might find it hard to tie shoelaces, manipulate a pen or scissors, or participate in sports, or to copy a sentence printed in a book or written on the board. Such difficulties may limit a child's ability to learn educational tasks or practical skills needed for day-to-day living.
What is developmental aphasia?
Developmental aphasia is called language disorder in the DSM-5. Persons with this condition may have an average or above average level of intelligence, and they do not have difficulty hearing or pronouncing words. However, they have difficulty acquiring and using spoken, written, or sign language. They have a very limited vocabulary, speak and write short, incomplete, or grammatically incorrect sentences, have trouble following what others say and answering even simple questions, or describing events and topics. Let me illustrate this condition with an example.
An 8-year-old boy with a full-scale IQ of 101 could not express himself verbally. He did not listen to instructions and did not talk to his classmates. He pointed to objects he wanted, grunted, and threw tantrums when others could not figure out what he wanted. He needed to be referred to a speech-language pathologist. The child probably had both a receptive and an expressive language difficulty.
What is receptive language difficulty?
Children with a receptive language difficulty struggle to understand what people tell them and to organize the information that they hear. They are unable to perform listening language tasks appropriate for their age. Most children perform expected language tasks at specific months after birth. They look at people or objects that a caregiver names at 15 months. They act on directions like get your shoes at 18 months. They point to a picture or a body part that is named at 24 months. Respond to directions by nodding or shaking their heads at 30 months. Follow two-step directions and understand action words at 36 months. Children with a receptive language difficulty may acquire these skills later than the expected time, or may not acquire them at all.
What is expressive language difficulty?
Children with an expressive language difficulty may be able to understand stories that are read aloud, but may not be able to describe what they have understood in their own words. They have a limited vocabulary and often point to objects instead of naming them, and use a limited variety of sentence structures when speaking. Most children are able to learn and speak new words and sentences at specific month intervals. At 15 months, they use 3 words. At 18 months, they say mama, dada, or other names. At 24 months, they use at least 25 words. At 30 months, they use 2-word phrases containing a noun and a verb. At 36 months, they acquire about a 200-word vocabulary, ask for items by name, and use complete sentences. Children with an expressive language difficulty may acquire these skills later than the expected time, or may not display them at all. 4-year-old children who use words incorrectly may be displaying symptoms of expressive language delay.
In what ways are dyslexia and language disorders different?
Children with dyslexia may also suffer from language disorder. However, children with dyslexia alone find it difficult to process sounds. This condition is very mild among those who have only language disorders. Children with language disorders do not have difficulty reading, but find it difficult to understand what they have read. Children with dyslexia are able to understand verbal instructions and express themselves verbally, but they find it hard to read. Children with language disorders and dyslexia are likely to find it difficult both to read and to understand what they read. Let me briefly summarize the key takeaways from this episode. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act includes dyspraxia and developmental aphasia in its list of disabilities. Dyspraxia is a condition that makes it difficult for children to coordinate the movement of their eyes, limbs, or muscles to implement some physical task like writing, catching a moving ball, or riding a bicycle. Developmental aphasia is called language disorder in the DSM-5. Children with a receptive language disorder find it hard to understand what people speak. Those with an expressive language disorder struggle to express themselves in speech or in writing. Both dyspraxia and language disorder make it hard for children to learn and perform academic and practical tasks. I have covered all the disorders mentioned in the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act in the first 5 episodes of this series. In the next episode, I will briefly review combinations of disorders that individual children might display. Thank you for being with me. I hope to see you again for our next episode.